Hey, hey, hey. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Tuesday. Friday's training is about time management. And trust me, you extract time and you understand what the universe is about. Samir, Jake, always on time. Speaking of time management, Friday free training, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Please join me. We are rocking and rolling. We'll take a few questions. And then our guest, Mia. Good morning. Good morning, Mia. How are you? Give me a call sometime. Love to see you there. Let's pin up how to reach me. You want to join my text community? It's 949-298-2905. Reach out. If you haven't received the exercises guides, my book, I'll sign it, send it to you. I'll pay for shipping. It's not a problem. Go ahead. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. We'll be all over that. Looking good, looking good. If you aren't early, you're late. I love that, Samir. Thank you. Janice, welcome. Good morning. Thank you for being here as well. My email is david@dmeltzer.com. David, it's pinned below. You can read it there. Thank you. Amy Jo, I'll get to you about 8:05. Let's answer a few questions. Getting on there. I have that booked. Welcome. Here we go. Thank you for the questions, team. David Meltzer, what's the most reoccurring lesson as a parent? Your children will not listen to you. They will watch you, and they are not for you. They are through you. Your children will not listen to you. They will watch you. They are not for you, but through you. That's the best lesson that reoccurs all the time with your children. Most important relativity in my life. Unbelievable. I have 3 daughters and a son. What position did you play in football? I was a weak corner, very weak, but fast and a great man-to-man cover, and a kick returner, punt returner, at least in college. I was a running back and a defensive back in the lower levels, but in college, I was a weak corner, nickel back, returner, and I loved it. One of the most fulfilling things I've done in my life. What's the quickest way to land digital marketing clients? Sell through them. Sell through your clients. Quickest way to land a digital marketing client is same way. Get a client, keep them, sell through them, and they'll sell through you to others. Build your practice very, very quickly. Sell through people, not to them. What was your favorite part of your trip? My trip consisted of going to First Forum with the Frisellas and Emily Frisella, then going to New York with the wedding, a 2-day Indian and Curaçaoan wedding, and then going to New Orleans and saw my daughter. So it's tough competition. It's hard to put anything past seeing your own daughter, but that wedding, officiating that wedding was one of the highlights of my life. Congratulations, Mira and David Marino. Beautiful couple. It was one of the most inspiring things I've done because everybody was unified. There was so many different cultures. Nobody looked the same at that wedding. Nobody came from the same place. Nobody had the same culture, religion, beliefs, and all it was unifying oneness and love, commitment, and unification. Those three things were the theme I felt of the wedding, and thank you. I was honored to officiate that wedding. I'll never, ever forget it. So, sorry, Marissa. Sorry, Andy. But I'm going to have to say the Marino's wedding was the highlight of my trip. Bucket list type of stuff. Bless you and thank you. What's the biggest challenge when writing a book? Not worrying about what other people think. Biggest challenge of writing a book is not worrying about what other people think. So #Marino wedding. There we go. One more minute and we'll bring Amy Jo Martin on. She is the founder and CEO of The Digital Royalty. She's an author, a speaker, and a coach. More and more of those around, and we'll see what makes her so special, what she is. What's the easiest way to change your life? Say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up. If you say thank you for 30 straight days before you go to bed and when you wake up, it will change your life. I study physics, quantum physics, metaphysics. I've been around the world thought leaders. Everybody agrees that saying thank you, having gratitude, finding the light, the love, and the lessons in everything you do will change your life. I promise you, if you could say thank you for 30 straight days, go ahead, email me. I'll sign a special book to you for saying 30 straight days gratitude, and your life will change. I Guarantee it, as they say in New Orleans. Anyway, let's bring on my friend Mary Jo. We'll There it is. It's 8:05. It's time to bring our favorite guests on. CEO of Digital Royalty, author, speaker, coach. There she is. Beautiful background.
Hello, David. How you doing this morning?
Phenomenal. How are you?
Great, great.
That's great to hear. Where are you?
I'm in the Black Hills of South Dakota in the forest. It's snowing outside.
That is, we have snow, but it's ash from all the fires.
Yeah.
I know we it was supposed to rain hard on Sunday, and that would have solved the problem for the Monday winds, but everything wasn't coordinating itself. Anyway, it's so interesting, and the Black Hills of South Dakota, how remote we can be and still have great impact in our lives. And you're having such a great impact with what you're doing, and especially with, I think, my biggest challenge, and I think you come from a more traditional marketing background as well, and now that we're in the digital realm of the marketing royalty that you and I deal with, I don't think people can fathom the size, scope, and scale of the audience. I think that's the biggest issue, is that even the people in charge can't fathom the size, scope, and scale of what 4.4 billion people at your reach can do. And there's a lot of waste that is occurring. What lessons have you learned in that spectrum lesson of how do we address the specific market that actually will be impacted or create a relationship or ambassadorship with our product, service, solution, or personal brand?
Well, that's a great question, David. And I think that's where, the biggest hurdles are the ones in our mind, right? So when I think about the masses and those, that amount of people, it gets in our way because we're trying to the masses, not the matches, not the like-minded, like-hearted people, which is where we really should be. Right? It doesn't take much of a base to convert and actually generate whether impact and income. So I think we get kind of really overwhelmed by the numbers and forget that one-to-one, that value exchange is all day, every day going to actually build conversions. So we get into vanity metrics, and I call it ego engagement, right? It's feeding our egos, but it's not feeding the bank account. So which one wins?
I love that. Well, because you and I both share the blend of life, very faithful, spiritual, energetic, philosophical. But you're doing a 9-day program on humanizing and monetizing, right? I think it's called the Humanizing to Monetize is the actual title of it. I have my biggest challenge is, where do I stand, number one, in the blend of the pragmatic world of monetization with my faith in the spiritual beliefs that I have, and two, more importantly, like you as a speaker, coach, and author, how do I empower others to choose their blend, but still realize that you can have a blend. You don't have to have either or, that we live in both vibrations. We live in multiple vibrations and frequencies. Give us a little bit of insight on what that 9-day course is about, and how do we blend that humanize side and the monetize side.
Absolutely. And it's an online course. There's 6 modules, 31 lessons.
All right, starts in 9 days. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And amyjomartin.com/H2M. But what you're speaking to is just exactly, when I first started, I used to work in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns, and had a great time, kind of early days, social media, the Steve Nash, Mari Stoudemire, Shaquille O'Neal. And when I started my first company in 2009, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson became a client, right? First launching. What you're talking about, David, is that diversifying of value, right? So we're all human. If he would have just launched and just talked about wrestling, or just talked about the what, didn't get to that why and who, then he would have isolated. Just like you, if you show all of you and keep it diversified, then people are going to connect with you, not one certain thing on that what level. So that's always my goal, is to help people find that, you are your unique differentiating factor, but people have trouble communicating it, that brand essence, right? So once again, I think that's where, you're not going to connect with everyone. You should, right? We're not ice cream. We shouldn't please everyone. But to your point, here we are leading into a week, and we've got a hyper political season slash crazy year, and there are a lot of opinions, but persuasion and connection can be done with healthy tension as long as respect is there, and we don't always have to agree, right? It's when we start to cross that line of energy, then you're doing no good to anyone, right? So I think it's that, social media isn't good or bad, and personal that good or bad. It's what we choose to do with it.
Yeah, no doubt. And you bring up an interesting point that I really tried to hone in on, and it's the relation between what and why. How do you see the relativity of what and why, and more importantly, the prioritization of what and why in people's lives? There's, different camps on this. I'd love for you to share your vision of what, when we need to know our what, and also we need to know our why.
Another great question. So that bridge from what to who and why is where I feel that if you're sharing from a place of what, you're leaving money and impact on the table. So longevity equity is built in that who you are and what you do. The what will come through, right? It is matter of fact. In my experience, it's going to happen. You can transcend your focus, but the what is going to come through, right? So don't worry about that. But if you really focus on that who and why, that's when you're connections that convert over and over versus a possible one and done transaction, maybe. So yeah, I mean, it's back to, Simon Sinek helped me find my why. Sat down one day, and it goes back to people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Right, because they remember how you make them feel. People buy on emotion for logical reasons, and you've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, not just the biggest brands in America, the Hiltons, the Rock, like you said, even Shaq, one of my favorite. And each of those people have a common denominator. They have a certain frequency. What's the lesson that you've learned with the biggest clients that you have? What's the common denominator that separates their frequency from all the rest of the people, that they have such a strong frequency, such a wide spectrum that appeals to so many people, and most importantly, such a clear brand?
Yeah, it's whether it's an individual brand or it's leadership at a big corporate brand, there is a genuine level of care. And so you can't fake that. And I think that that's the thing about communicating digitally. We have our radar up. We can spot it from a mile away. So, the ability to connect at an attitudinal level, and transcend the demographics, right? I mean, you've got people all across the spectrum, but it really comes down to the fact that you don't brand yourself; you just are yourself, and that creates your brand. And so, you really can't fake that.
Yeah, I use the Dr. Pimple Popper as my classic example when I was inspired to build my own brand, and so sought expertise from people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who I was helping with his sports agency. I was very middle of the road, even though I had addressed and inspired traditional brands, really big ones, athletes, celebrities, entertainers. Myself, I had never really taken a position because I was trying always to gather their business, never to brand myself. And it took me a few years to find my own frequency, as I said, to really take a stand on who I was, as strong as, Dr. Pimple Popper, which to me is my inspiration, because I always, whenever I think about what is my frequency, I think this woman has more true ambassadors, millions of subscribers, not followers. These are people that love to watch her stuff every day, than the entire Pro Football Hall of Fame, who are my heroes. The entire Pro Football Hall of Fame, all of their subscribers combined don't equal my Dr. Pimple Popper. And yet, I hate to use a terrible analogy, she's pretty much the size, her following, her subscribership is the size of a pimple on somebody's behind, in the essence of 4.4 billion people. But yet she has a huge audience. And that's where we started understanding and really qualifying the size of the audience. What's your main objective of your new course, this online course that you're launching in 9 days? What's your main objective? I know as a speaker author myself that you have a much bigger vision than making money, although you will monetize this. What's your bigger vision of the course?
Well, I have not built this out, and I could have, a long time. I see it's 2020 are been flipped upside down, and I see the craving and the struggle of just wanting to live life differently. I know I grew up in a single wide trailer in Wyoming, small town girl, and if it weren't for these communication channels, I wouldn't have the career that I have. It's very clear to me. So it's so democratizing, and I look at the map freedom, the time freedom, and the financial freedom that can happen from sharing story, sharing value, and there's another way. I've been burnt out before, and so I'm here to teach that and to do it with a lot of, I take it very seriously, because everybody, needs a guide, and my life would look very different if I hadn't, built my own brand and shared my own voice. So others can too. I have a saying, David, and it's, where passion, purpose, and skill collide, bliss resides. And there's a sweet spot in that intersection, and I live there, and I'm fortunate. I just want to help people there.
I love that. Where passion, purpose, and profit resides, that's where you'll find me. And I saw Cindy Eckert gave us huge props. So it doesn't get any better than that when someone that I look up to so much is sharing their love for you and I. So thank you, Cindy. We love you. The Pinkinator herself, extraordinary entrepreneur. And Temi, my friend from Africa, he's I think about 13 or 14 years old. He said hello as well. And so both ends of the spectrum, the world is so different and diverse, but yet we're all the same. Please join Amy, her new program, Humanizing to Monetize. Repeat again, we'll pin it up there. Where can everybody sign up for the program?
So Amy Jo Martin, it's AMYJOMARTIN / H2M. So H number 2M.
That's awesome. The only thing about you that's South Dakota in my mind is that name, Amy Jo. So thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to doing your course as well myself, and I appreciate everything that you do to build the legends that provide, I think, great leadership and iconic values from the people that we know. So thank you very, very much. Come back on, Amy, okay?
Thank you so much, David. I love everything you're about.
Vice versa. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great entrepreneur, great coach and leader. Most leaders are intelligent followers, and obviously a great student of many people. Thank you, Jake, for pinning that up there. AmyJoMartin.com /H2M, which would mean humanize to monetize. And if you want to be like the Rock or Shaq, those can't get any bigger than those two, let alone the Hiltons. Anyway, Friday's training is about time management. I think it's critical. If you don't think time and understanding time and utilizing time effectively is critical, imagine your world with no time, and you'll live in faith. It's an interesting way of analyzing things. Go ahead, email me. If you missed any of my trainings, all of them are featured on Spotify. There's a playlist featured on Spotify of all my trainings, all the playbooks. You can see great people like Cindy Eckert on there. One of my faves, by the way. Great interview. You want to learn something, go to that podcast. If you want my exercises, guides, books, all are free. I'll be happy to mail it out, sign it to you. If you can say thank you 30 straight days, I'll sign and send you a special book and pay for shipping as well. Not a problem. Or if you just want to join my text community, I have private groups, private sales groups. You can join 949-298-2905. 949-298-2905. Come join me in those private groups. We'd love to have you. A great collective consciousness is created. Very, very good. All right, let's take a few questions. Temi, are you here? I just want to see if my man's here. I'm going to send him a request. I don't usually do this back to back to back, but I got a couple minutes. I just want to see this kid. I love him. See if he... Yes, I am sorry. I got couple minutes in between people. I just wanted to see you. Are you at school right now? Is that a blackboard behind you?
No, I'm not. I'm not in school. I'm at home right now.
You're at home? You got your own green screen? Is that what's going on?
No, it's just a board. It's just a board I put
Just a
behind me.
board. What's on your mind today, man? Tell me what's on your mind.
Nothing really much. Today's for this whole week. We are not going to school, so it's more or less a time to rejuvenate ourselves and focus on the weeks ahead. Plan. Next year is coming. We don't wait till next year to plan. We wait for the year before. So that's what I'm doing presently right now.
Well, my tomorrow starts today. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
I
think I've heard.
Yeah, you got my tomorrow starts today, and I got to make sure that not only am I living my life to the fullest pursuit today, but I have an unwind routine every single night. The 8 hours of sleep that most of us have, that's like a wind down to sleep is like a warm up to exercise. And, your number one priority always should be, because you are a gift to God and a gift to the world, is to make sure that you spend at least an hour of your time on your health, my friend. I know you're young and your health is taken for granted, but you got to stay healthy. You got to make sure you're getting outside, exercising. I know there's a lot coming in, but I want to make sure that somebody didn't tell me that when I was your age, and I'm gonna keep on telling it every time I see it. Last thing, real quick, give me a question that I can answer for you.
Okay, I have a question for you. Now, this is a question that will relate to a lot of people. How do you balance out everything around you and still have time for yourself?
That's awesome. So how do I balance everything around myself but still have time for myself? And the number one goal is to take inventory of your values. Once you take inventory of your values every day, your personal values, your experiential values, what you want to experience today, your giving values of how much value you want to provide to others, how productive you want to be, and most importantly to me, my receiving values. What do I want to get out of this day to come through me for others? And when you take inventory of your values, then you can have a weighted balance. Now, for me, I have some non-negotiables. Number one, a minimum of an hour a day on my health, right? I shared that with you, a minimum of an hour a day on my health. If I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of anyone else. And my main objective in life is to take care of other people. My mission is to empower over 1 billion people by finding 1,000 Temis in the world, 1,000 Amy Jo Martins and Cindy Eckerts that I know will empower 1,000 more to empower 1,000 more. And if I do that, number two is my family, my non-negotiable. So I have a minimum amount of time that I spend with my wife, my 10-year-old son, who someday I want to come visit you and have you hang out with Miles. You'll be a great mentor of his. My 3 teenage daughters, my mom. And then finally, I'm a student. Like you, one of the things that you and I share, emotional connection, is we are both students. The definition of a student is the mathematical equation of luck. We both pay attention to and we give intention to the coincidences that we want in our life. We read books, we listen to podcasts, we watch people, we ask questions. We're more interested than interesting. So for me, I prioritize a weighted balance of those 3 things, regardless of what I'm doing with my time. And when I do that, I have every single day a very, very balanced existence where I have time for myself. Every day I have vacation when I take those values into account, when I give to my family, and most importantly, when I study what I want, when I pay attention to and give an intention to the coincidences. And when I practice that, they come faster and faster and faster. And that's why you popped up on my feed today, because I manifested you, my friend. I paid attention. I gave intention to, I want 1,000 people that I can depend on, that can help empower 1,000 people to empower 1,000. And you are an intelligent follower and a great leader at such a young age. Everybody remember Temi. I promise you, he will be a leader beyond belief. He's up there with the great ones like Martin Luther King and all the great ones here in America. And I appreciate you. Whatever I can do to be of service to you, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I really appreciate being among the 1,000 people, and I assure you to inspire 1,000 people as well. And let's keep the vision going until eventually the whole world.
That's right. The collective consciousness of happiness. Go have fun, smile, be healthy. Take care, my friend. The great Temi.
Bye-bye.
Always joining. Bye-bye. I had to squeeze him in there. Sorry. Got a question from him. Let's keep moving as quick as we can go. What's the most difficult lesson to express to people? What's the lesson that people are most resistant to? It's so funny. the practicing ending fear. So many people still live in blame, shame, and justification. They don't see the interference, corrosion that they're creating between what they already are connected to. And, I had a coaching client today, it was amazing, just so far below the line. And, a lot of times when I tell the truth, I only work month to month with people in my executive coaching with some of the biggest CEOs in the world, chairmen, as well as some entrepreneurs. And it's amazing. Two things happen when I tell someone the truth. I have a client, Ricky Mendez, a great speaker, author, just extraordinary entrepreneur. And I told him the truth one day, and we became closer in a bond. And it was one of the most valuable things I ever did. But then I've had other people that I've told the truth to, and they just go below the line. And I pray for their happiness. They're not ready, right? And just like I went below the line, when my dad gave me a jacket with no pockets and told me I was just like him, that I couldn't take anything with me when I'm gone, so many times in my life, I wasn't ready to hear the truth. My best friend, Robbie, tried to tell me the truth. My mom tried to tell me the truth. My wife tried to tell me the truth. I wasn't ready. So when that happens, I try not to have a need to be offended, and try to understand that they're just not ready to hear the truth, and then go ahead and pray for their happiness and try to be of service or value. That's the hardest thing for me. That's the hardest lesson to teach, is to understand what and how people are in their own way, what interference they're creating. All right, Tom is here. I see an amazing TV personality, host, author, product designer, founder of Tom Felicia Inc. Let me find Tom. Yeah, Jake, Tom is here. How about that? Where'd he go? Let me see here. There. Awesome. And go live with Tom. All right. At THOMFILICA.
Hello.
There he is. How are you?
How are you? What's happening?
Tom,
By the way, that was so awesome. I just watched that. That
Tammy?
was so great. What a cool kid.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's been a friend for a little while, and I see you got my memo about what color to wear today.
I was gonna say, yeah, we were definitely. This was not done on purpose at any level. I think we were just on the same wavelength.
We're sharing the same frequency. I know we're probably both not the Washington football team fans, but we're wearing their colors today. So
Yeah, it's a curveball. We're throwing everybody up.
Right on. People that saw the podcast today with Andy Frisella. That's great. Anyway, Tom, you co-host A Room with Carson. You got so much. You're Emmy award winning. One of my favorite shows ever. Right, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Yeah.
You wasted too many nights of mine into the time suck of TV.
Now wait, were you watching it because did you enjoy the sort of the hilarity of it? Or would you have like a girlfriend, or was it your fiance or wife at the time that was saying, like, you need to figure out how to get yourself organized?
So for me, the only time, because I'm such a time freak, it's very much a time freak, and I see TV for me as an unwind routine of mine. So my wife at the time was one of her favorite shows, and so I always acquiesce to whatever she wants to watch, as long as it's positive. And so I won't watch scary movies, I won't watch the news, stuff like that that's gonna upset my energy. And so and she knew my personality, where I came from, so I just fell in love to me with how far we've come with content. And my oldest brother, who was a bisexual, died of AIDS when I was in law school, so I had some familiarity with his lifestyle as well. The only difference was it was very behind the door, because I couldn't tell my parents what I knew when he was in med school at UCLA. I was at Occidental. I'd go over and kind of see the party action that he had and the friends that he had. And so for me, there's
But you know what's interesting, though? You know what's interesting to think about today? That same person, or most typically that person, would be in med school, let's say, or wherever they were in school, and that would be like, oh, this is my friend, he's, that's his boyfriend and that's his girlfriend, he's bisexual. Like today, it would actually be sort of something that would not be, you wouldn't have to necessarily hide it. I mean, I'm sure having that conversation with a mom and dad is always, it sometimes, you know, it's more tricky than not, depending on the
Yeah.
parents. But I think it's certainly in your social group, it seems like that, you know, it's think of how far that's come in not that long of a time, you know, and
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. But you know, one of the things also that you touched on was that it was a positive show. And also when Carson and I were I was actually just on the phone with him the other day, and we're, you know, the show that we made, Get a Room with Carson and Tom, one of the things that we think about is like, we definitely want the show to be appealing to people that like are into design, or there's definitely like the demographic of women who watch, let's say, Bravo. But we also, Carson and I, think about like, we want this to be a fun journey that like someone, if mom's making their kids watch it, or their husband watch it, or their boyfriend or whatever, that everybody can find something to connect with and have fun with it. So we've always wanted it to be something that was a little bit not so sort of one-dimensional that way, you know, that it could, so that if you were sitting there, it wasn't like you were watching a show where you were like, oh my God, how much longer is this show going to be?
Yeah. I'm doing a training on time management and the perspective of time. But one of the things that you address in all your content that I love, and you talked about the changes that have occurred, you know, I see masculinity, femininity, sexuality as an energy. And this transformation happened in my 30s. It's not something that, you know, I could tell you when I was playing football in college, I would be publicly telling you that, you know, I'm in touch with this feminine energy, and I use that, and which is why I love the fact that the subtle nature of the frequency of your content, meaning that you allow people, like you said, whether they're the children or husbands, you know, no matter what your orientation or you think your sexual or energetic orientation is, it opens you up. It touches you, that frequency. And I'm working on frequency-based content where I believe that we can have healing frequency. And I really think that your no problem. You got one of the Emmy Award-winning producers, right? Still dealing with the exact same problems everybody else is working at home. I'm in the closet. He's chasing the dog. This is probably the best.
Sorry. There was someone at my door. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
We're going crazy. Sorry.
This is what I love. This is what I love. You can get like the world's greatest producers on a live, and we're all dealing. I'm in the closet. You're chasing the dog to the door. We're cool. But I'm working with healing frequency with people in Hollywood that I believe that we can use content to heal people. And I think your content heals people. Is it to you something that is intentional, the frequency side of the energy of your content, or is it just, hey, this is extraordinary writing and production?
No, I will tell you, I would say fundamentally, in talking specifically to what you're talking about, I think that the fundamental place that we all need to be for hopefully everything in our lives, to have that balance. And I think that whether it's your health, it's your kind of where you're at, the way that you feel, the way that you approach life and things around you, I think a lot of it starts with being comfortable in your skin. And I think when you start from that place, it gives you the ability to really be able to connect with different people. It gives you the ability to be honest, hopefully, with yourself about what's going, you know, on and how you're affecting everything around you. And so I think that being comfortable in your skin is sort of job one, because figuring out, let's just say, your frequency, which I agree with, and I think that understanding kind of how your sort of energy works for yourself and for other people in the world around you. But I think that I do think that having the ability to feel comfortable in your skin is about getting yourself grounded. Like you were saying before, like you do that hour of health a day so that you can be healthy to take care of other people. And I think when you're starting from a place of being comfortable in your skin, and I think that here you are, a straight man, you appear to be very comfortable in your skin, that you can even talk about, you know, like your feminine side, let's say. But when you were younger, you might not have been as comfortable or as known yourself as well. So you couldn't talk about that. But today you can talk about it because it's non-threatening to you. It's non-threatening to the people around you because you know who you are and you say, this is who I am and this is what my life is about. So I really believe that what we do is that we kind of give the gift of saying, hey, you be you and be the best version of yourself. And that's a gift that we can give each other. And then let's have fun and move forward. And I think that's kind of your springboard.
Yeah, and I think you nailed what needs to be done to heal the separation in all aspects that, you know, our politics have created, and our excessive change and accelerated change has created, you know, the focus on the wrong things. And it's interesting because you're known for interior design, but on two different levels, you know, on two different levels to me, you know, the human interior, right? We can't find outside of us what we don't find inside of us. And that's reflected in our environment, that you want to create this homogeneous environment where, although you call it interior design, in some aspects, our interior design that you have on your shows is our exterior design of ourselves.
Right, 100%. I mean, that's actually one of the things about the show that, you know, one of the things that I was really, was sort of a strong focus for me was that I would say, you know, this is not, I'm not going to come into your world and say, you need to have the things that I like or the things that make sense for my life. What I'm trying to figure out is what makes that person tick, who they are, what's important to them. And actually, Carson and I and the guys used to say this all the time, it's not a makeover, it's a make better. It's about figuring out who that person is and making them the best version of who they are. So the interiors for me, and what made it possible for me to move so quickly and always have like a solution that I think felt very bespoke or tailored to that individual, was that I was looking at them and saying, okay, this guy likes to surf. This guy, you know, he loves to travel to, you know, Australia is a big influence in his life. And like, I'm looking at the things around him and going like, these are the things that are important to him in his world. And then this is just stuff that sort of happens to be here. And I don't think that he's really connected to it. It doesn't really tell his story. It doesn't feel, so I would sort of pull these things together that I felt were important to him and that I kind of investigated to make sure that they were. And then I would bring things in that complemented that and that worked with that and sort of helped promote that concept or that story. And when that person would come into that space, they were like, wow, it looks great. And I probably would have never done any of this. But what's really cool about it is that it really connected with their sensibility, their point of view. It sort of really laid out, you know, in a very clear way, the narrative that they were kind of telling, but they didn't know how to, it's like they didn't really know how to sort of put it together. So that's really what, and I think that when they had that emotional connection to it, not only being like, you know, painted and fresh and new, but also it being sort of personalized and, you know, really intentionally designed for them, I think it kind of hit a note. You know, it's like, wow, this is like not just fluff. This is like a real thing. You know, it felt there was a substance to it.
You know what's so amazing? I'm sitting in my closet right now, which I call it a convertible room.
By the way, that could be a weird metaphor.
Yeah. Hey, my wife, I got Justin, my producer. We did these great Meltzer videos, right? The Meltzer videos. My daughter produced them. She's at IU, and they were like afraid for me to say, you know, my wife said a great comment. She's like, most wives are afraid of their husband coming out of the closet. I'm afraid that he's going into the closet. But I have this great idea, and you'd be a perfect partner for it. But I think, you know, there's going to be a major transition in corporate space. You know, I was in Manhattan, and I'm trying to figure out how can we create a solution with all this space. And as I sit in my closet, I believe convertible spaces are the future, meaning that we have the technology to have a place where you literally can have a studio, a desk, your clothes, you know, all these different things in these rooms that aren't taking up as much space,
Yes.
but provide you a very comfort. Remember the restaurant in Vegas that converted every, you know, so many hours, it had a different motif?
Yeah.
I see homes, you know, transitioning a lot of those corporate spaces
Right.
into condo workspaces that
Well,
convert really
yeah.
well.
I mean, I definitely think what's interesting. I mean, I have a showroom in New York City. I own an apartment in the city. I have a showroom in the city, and then I also have an office in the city. And so, understanding it from residential real estate, just sort of, you know, what I understand from that, because I'm in that situation in New York, understanding it from sort of showroom and, you know, sort of owning sort of that kind of like business model, and then also having an office. And over the last, let's say, 6 to 7 months, you know, having this kind of experience, both with architects, contractors, doing site meetings, people that I work with, talking to friends that are in real estate, both residential and commercial, talking to our landlord in our building, talking to people who shop in our building. I was just in High Point. We have a 5,000 square foot showroom in High Point, and we show product every 6 months. So I'm talking to architects, designers, buyers from, you know, major stores and small boutiques all over the outside of the country. And so really understanding is getting it, absorbing all of this information and having these conversations. And it is really interesting. I think that what happened in 3 months of us learning how to communicate the way that we're communicating right now, has done in 3 months what would have taken 3 to 5 years, let's say, because we were all sort of, you know, we needed to be in our homes, and, you know, this was an unusual situation that really pushed this forward. And I think that both restaurants, hospitality, hotels, offices, I think we're looking from a design perspective how to, you know, incorporate things that not only make sense on a regular Tuesday, but how these spaces can acclimate to something as strange as what we're sort of living through right now, and do it sort of effortlessly, and also maybe in the meantime sort of give us a sense of safety and security, and comfort in sort of the interim, you know. So I do think that offices and the way that we work, because we now know how to do things remotely, and I think it's not even about remotely. I think we can come up with a more efficient model that allows us to basically work smarter and also be able to enjoy our personal lives a little bit more easily, you know, and spend time with your kids, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, dogs, you know, neighbors, and just yourself, and just be able to like really, if you really like fly fishing, you can do that. Instead of doing it once a year, you can do it 7 times a year, because of the way that we can work now. And if traveling with your children is something regionally that you feel like is really exciting for you, like you felt like you could only do it once a year, I just think that we have the opportunity now to really define how we work. And it's not about working less, it's just about working in a more efficient, and updated kind of way. And I think that hopefully everybody, when they say, God, when people say, I can't wait for this to be over so we can go back to normal, I think to myself, I was like, look, I can't wait for people not to be sick, and I can't wait for people to not be afraid, and I can't wait for people who are been devastated by this to not have to be, they can start to rebuild their companies and business to the new normal, which is hopefully going to be taking a lot of really smart lessons from this and figuring out how to move forward with them and implement them.
Yeah, no, I always say I'm hoping and waiting for when our imaginations can catch back up to our technology. I think we have a little bit of a gap there. just real quick, this has been one of my most memorable lives with you and Temmie today, and Amy Jo too. It's been really fun. But what's your most memorable moment on your new show, A Room with Carson?
I have to say, most memorable. It's really interesting because we did an episode with a psychic, and so the way the show's built is that we do one sort of big, sort of high style, more expensive, kind of operation of design. And then we do something that's much smaller and a little bit of a give back. And we would we would take care of that. And like that person was kind of gifted sort of something. And it was we made it very doable for them. And so, because we wanted to give them. So we had something like high style and really approachable, because we didn't want anyone to feel sort of, disenfranchised, or we wanted to make everybody, from DIY to like, a gorgeous like $10,000 sofa, so we wanted to have both of those, like eye candy and that. And we had this woman, she was a psychic, and she inherited a house with her husband from his mother, and she was really excited about it, but she wanted to have one of the rooms in her house a psychic salon, but she didn't want it like what you would imagine, in the movies with like, all the, the velvet and everything. She wanted it to be like cool and young and like, not done in that sort of old way. So we met with her, and so we go to her house. We've never met her before. Now, when the cameras are behind you, we knock on the door. There's 2 cameras behind you. We say hello. We're so excited to meet her. And then they say, okay, everybody, they go down. Cameras go off. One camera positions inside and one stays outside, and then the cameras go back up, and it takes about 5 minutes for that to happen. But we're not allowed to talk during that 5 minutes. I was looking at her earrings, and she had these like Pierre Cardin earrings from like the 80s that were like, really cool, like acrylic with like a gold thing and the 2 P's or whatever. And I'm like, I looked at those and I thought, gosh, I'm like, I swear either my mother had those, or I just know my mom, she would have loved those. If she didn't have them, she absolutely would have loved those. And my mother died about 18 years ago. And so anyways, I thought that in my head, never said anything because we're not allowed to speak, never said a word to anybody. Cameras come back up. We shoot for a couple hours. When we're done shooting, I knew the producers at one point would say, hey, do you guys want to do a reading? I said yes. Carson, I think, may have said no. And I said yes. And she said, and I knew they were going to film it. I figured they would do this because they figured if there was some content, they would like include it in the show. So she said, who would you like to contact? I said, I'd like to contact my mom. And she's like, okay. And she does her thing, and she's like smiling and laughing. And she turns to me and she's like, your mom's really funny. Like some people, when they try to get to me, they're kind of, I don't know. She's like, they're not always nice or whatever. She's like, your mom was funny and really sweet to everybody. And I thought, well, you could say that about anybody, really. And I was like, okay, certainly a mom. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's probably her. And I'm like, yeah. Trying to be super optimistic. And then she goes, wait. She's like, you know what? She's like, your mom wanted me to tell you that she loves my earrings.
Oh, nice.
I was like, oh, my God. I mean, literally, tears shot out of they didn't even go down my cheeks. They just shot out of my face. I couldn't even control it. It was the craziest thing. And I think the cameras had to go down at one point because I literally could not. I was like, it was the weirdest moment because I just could not believe that she said that. And I was like, whoa, that is so crazy. I'm like, I can't even, like, that was really bizarre. So that was one of the most bizarre kind of things.
That's
so,
super.
Yeah. There was, and it went on, and she said some other hilarious things. She said something like, your mom she's with you every day, except about 11 o'clock she leaves because you get naughty.
Nice. Yeah, my wife's freaking out because my wife every year does it for her birthday and has a great psychic medium. And she wanted her dad had passed, so she wanted to talk to her dad. And my dad broke through, and she said, yeah, Dave's dad's always with you. Freak my wife out. She's like, is he in the room right now? Does he watch me take a bath?
Always?
Yeah, exactly. My dad's like an old school. My dad's an old school creep. My dad's an old school, like hey doll, you know, he's old school, not politically correct, but he passed at 80, but he's not, you know, I know what it feels like when you don't want to be judged for your parents. But yeah, it terrifies her. Almost ruined my sex life, but I've overcome it. No pun intended.
That's hilarious.
But he did. It's funny that you said that, because he did say my dad never told me he was proud of me, and he came back. I'm going to choke up because he literally in the reading said, "Make sure you tell Dave how proud I am." And it's
That's
weird
awesome.
that it meant that much to me.
Yeah.
It still does. That
Yeah.
I wanted that approval from my father so much. I still
Yeah.
choke up on a live
Yeah.
with you, but we all have to hook
That's
up.
awesome.
You gotta meet my wife. She will absolutely
Yeah.
love you. She may hit you up for some design ideas, though.
Well, I would be happy to do that. I would be, you know, so I have to ask you this question. It was such a generational thing, I think, and also depending on what kind of background you're from or where people. I had friends who told me, "Yeah, my dad never hugged me or never said he loved me," and I'm like, "But you know, I'm like, do you think he loved you?" And they're like, "Absolutely loved me. He was a great dad, but he just would never say that." And I was like, "That's so interesting." I mean, but generationally, I think that's kind of not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
But I think there was a time when fathers kind of felt like that was not part of their, I don't know, their
Yeah, I probably say too much. I probably say too much to my kids and hug them too much. But they're like, "You creep, get off of me." I love them.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
Anyway, we got to do this again.
I would love
know
it.
it's on HGTV, but it's also on the Style Network, right? Your show.
I will know. So yeah, I had a show on Style Network. I just Carson and I did a show on Bravo called Get a Room with Carson and Tom. We're actually not filming that right now, but you can actually upload it. Also, I did do a show on the Style Network, Dress My Nest, for many years. God, for like 3 or 4 years in LA. And I was going back and forth. But yeah, right now we're actually, Carson and I are taking a little hiatus right now, and then we'll go back into doing something probably this coming spring. Also, when things, it's, you know, we just shot a show. We just shot something for E! Network in LA, and it's, you know, it's like, it's great where things are starting to happen again, but it's, you know, it's really, you know, it's kind of happening slowly because everyone, the process in which you have to go through to actually shoot these shows is pretty, you know, they have to keep you contained, and you can't really make sure that you have to be tested every 2 minutes, and it's, you know, it's a lot. So, but it was great. It worked, and we all got through it healthy and all that. But yeah, so I think this spring, hopefully, as we get this under control and everyone feels more comfortable. Yeah. So thanks. And you can also go to Tom Felicia, at Tom Felicia on Instagram, or at Cedric Brattle on Instagram, which is my showroom. And yeah, it's sort of check us out.
You're awesome, man. We could dress alike anytime. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's do this more often. Take care of yourself. I would love that. Thank you for all your great stories.
Thanks. Have a great day. It was really fun to catch up. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Take care. Tom's amazing, and he knows how to dress. Look at that. I guess I got the queer eye for the straight guy. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Mary Jo, Tom, Timmy. Let's take one more question. Friday's training's on time management. Join me every Friday for free training. Catch up podcast today. Andy Frisella and I, Carlos Reyes, all hit it hard in St. Louis. Real deep conversation, inspiring conversation. You can get my books, train guides, exercises for free. David at dmeltzer.com. Everything's featured on Spotify, Entrepreneur, all the networks. Check it out. The playbook. We're going to put Tom on the playbook, that's for sure. Okay, Jake, let's make sure we get a deeper podcast. Love that guy. Unbelievable. If you want to join my text community, 949-298-2905 if you want my guys' exercises training. We're going to take one last question and then get going for the week. What is something you are currently forcing on, or probably focusing on? For me, it's that need for approval. You know, I think it came out even when I talked to my father, who, you know, somehow in a third party continuum there, you know, told me that he was proud of me. And so, you know, it's something that I'm working on, not to seek approval, but to learn to love myself. and allow others to love me because I love myself. So difficult to do, but it's something I'm focusing on, learning to love myself so others can love me as well. And I hope that everyone uses that as a guide for themselves to look within to find what you want outside of you. Do some interior design of your own, and watch Tom as well, and see how that manifests itself outside of you. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. As always, what a treat, what a pleasure. Join me every day. Friday training, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Time management. Join me. If you miss it, go to Spotify. It's featured there. They have a playlist of all my trainings. It's on Entrepreneur. It's on every platform. But join me regardless. If you want my exercises, guys, if you want to join a private group, david@dmeltzer.com. Once again, join my text community, 949-298-2905. Pin below. Most importantly, everyone, especially Joseph, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Have a great day.